spent 2 nights here in Stonington at Billings Diesel, and now we're getting ready to head over to Castine for a few days. The river has quite a bit of current because Castine's kind of it's a river, so we kind of have to time it, otherwise you're just fighting it. The tide turns around 2 o'clock, so we're trying to time ourselves to get there around 2 with the slack, and so we're not fighting it.
We made a quick pit stop at Center Harbor, home of Brooklyn Boat Works and nearby Wooden Boat School. The harbor has some of the most beautiful wooden boats in the US, so we had to take a look around the mooring field to admire them.
Island right in front of us. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to come up, and it's got like a little kind of spot you can come up to it pretty close. So the island is covered in seabirds, and we drive up, we throw like a loaf of bread off the back, and then my grandfather would just like gun it to get out of there, and the birds would take off the island and come after the bread. And he could outrun it with his boat, but we're definitely not doing that in Ecola. Stop buying balloons. This one isn't even fun. We were actually motoring this time, and on top of motoring, there's like no swell, no wave, nothing. So we actually could pull this one out. Stop buying balloons.
We are currently in Castine. Got up this morning, did my normal weather check, and that included Chris Parker's tropical forecast that came in overnight. There's been 3 storms that are kind of in the mix right now. Fred, which we were expecting the remnants of tomorrow or Friday. Grace, which is not going to bother us at all, is planning to go like towards Mexico. And then I think it's Henri, not Henry, but which is near Bermuda right now. And we had initially not thought it was going to be a big deal. It was looking like it was just going to go out into the Atlantic and not be a problem. This morning's update, however, is that it is going to be potentially a problem for us. We're in a good spot in Maine right now to hide out from a hurricane, but with the remnants of Fred coming through Thursday, Friday, and then the potential for Henri to be here on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, somewhere in there, most likely Sunday, Monday. That doesn't give us a lot of time to figure out where the heck we're going to be. What the plan today is, which our original plan was to stay here in Castine, go into town, do some work, and then head to North Haven tomorrow. We're gonna actually head to North Haven today, and that will put us within about a half hour to 45 minutes of 4 hurricane holes, all on Vinyl Haven and North Haven. Basically, we're just giving ourselves as many options as possible so that we wait for the forecast to firm itself up. We are in Pulpit Harbor, which is our plan to hang out here while we wait for Henri to get here. Updates on forecast today. Basically, it's looking like we are most likely going to see subtropical storm force winds here. It's going to be probably in the 30s, but there's still a chance that we're going to see a little bit north of that. So we are just going to hang out here. It's Thursday now. We're not expecting Henri until Sunday into Monday, depending on how fast he moves north. So this little spot though is pretty great. We've already started a little bit of hurricane prep. Andy has worked on a new splice on from our chain to our rope on our anchor rod.
So for the last probably year, our rope to chain splice on our boat, it's normally a splice, it's been a knot, a bowline knot. And today I want to take care of that and properly splice the chain to the rope.
So one thing we did this morning was we did move just a touch in the anchorage. Yesterday it was very crowded in here, and we ended up a little close to a mooring buoy. We had like 3-to-1 scope, which with chain is comfortable on a night that we're seeing like 15 knots. I'm not that worried, but we're gonna want a little bit more than that coming up soon. So in order for us to be able to get that much swing room, we needed to move forward just a touch. So we did that this morning. Anchor set really nicely again. When Andy brought it up this morning, it was like packed with clay. Clay is a very nice medium for a hurricane hole, so we're very pleased with that. We also are surrounded basically on 3 out of 4 sides by pretty high trees and cliffs, which is also a nice hurricane hole feature. The one direction that we're a little exposed from has a reef, so waves will break on that before they come in here. However, we're not expecting wind out of that northwest direction at any point. There's also a grocery store nearby, which was stocked. I was stoked. It's very rare to find a grocery store on the islands in Maine that is as well stocked as the one here in North Haven. And we're pretty excited because our friends are also gonna come and chill with us in here and wait out the storm. So we're gonna have a little hurricane party. While we were waiting to find out just how much prep we were going to need to do, I took the opportunity to explore the shallow areas of Pulpit Harbor by paddleboard. Last night was not good for me. I definitely got a little obsessive about the storm. I ended up having a panic attack basically around 2 o'clock. The latest modeling, the 11 p.m. modeling, and the National Hurricane Center update had things looking not so great for us. It had everything kind of coming east of Cape Cod and basically headed straight for us. We were looking at basically not terribly strong tropical storm winds, but for whatever reason, it happens occasionally that I just can't stop my brains. This morning, we woke up to significantly better news. The Euro model, the UK, and the GFS are all basically converging at this point to have landfall somewhere between easternmost Long Island and Nantucket. They're all looking much more similar now than they were yesterday. All of the meteorologists are saying that it's been a particularly tough one to nail down, especially since we're only 3 days out right now. That the fact that they still weren't really sure until basically the 5 a.m. update this morning. We are still planning to stay here for right now. There is 2 of the models are still saying that we're going to see upwards of 30 knots. The other thing that happened last night was the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred came through, and it was a complete downpour, and It was wicked foggy this morning, and the rain has stopped and the fog has cleared, and we are gonna go do something fun for a few minutes and go up a little creek to explore. I got my ballet pants on so I don't get my butt all wet in the dinghy. Things are still looking pretty good for us here. Highest predictions, and these are like the super high end of what we would see, is like 30 to 35 knots. We are going to today fix one of our very leaky windows here in the salon. When it rained, when we got the like rain remnants of Fred, we just had puddles in here. And we're worried because we should be getting more rain with Henri than we did with that. So Andy and I are going to take apart that, put butyl tape down, hopefully get that to stop leaking. We may do the second one, which is the one that's directly over me here. But if we do that, it'll depend on how well the really bad one goes. This could go really badly in the fact that, like, if for whatever reason we, like, I don't know, break something, we don't really have a good way of replacing it right now since we are on an island, and so it's probably gonna end up being like duct tape over the window. So fingers crossed this is not a very, very, very stupid idea.
Everything went smoothly until we tried to put the screws back in place. We had a really hard time getting it tight enough to get the nuts and caps back on. We managed to get enough on to hold it in place and keep it from leaking, but we will have to revisit this project when we get to Maryland.
Today is the day that Henri is going to make landfall. It has been downgraded to a tropical storm. It's noontime now, and we're really close to the center of the storm coming ashore. It's looking like it's going to be pretty close to Port Judith, Rhode Island. Also, kind of good news for us here in Maine that it went westward a little bit more towards the end here, because that means that we're probably not going to see a whole heck of a lot today. But we are really glad that we made the choices we did earlier in the week just to make sure everything was going to be okay, because up until just about yesterday morning, it was still looking like we could have seen sustained 30 into the 35 range. We are very, very happy that it didn't turn out worse for us. It's just about 6 o'clock, and the wind is finally picking up here. We're seeing 15 sustained, gusting towards 20 right now. The rain has been off and on, and it's been very weird. Like, it'll be like pouring, and then it's like somebody flipped a switch and it's off. Like, it's not easing in, easing out. It's just like pouring or not pouring. There's no in between right now, which is kind of weird.
Storm.
It just started like pouring. It was just sprinkling, and then Andy got dressed to take the dog ashore, and now it's pouring. It is the day after Henri has come through southern New England. We don't pick up gusts very well. I do think we were gusting higher than that, but we had 17.5 knots was what we saw, and our friends next door saw 18.5 knots. Definitely a whole lot of nothing up here, which we are very, very thankful for. Taking the conservative route on weather is not always the most fun option, but it's definitely the most comfortable and the most safe option. And when your boat is your house, you make decisions a little differently than you do when it's not. I hope you guys all kind of enjoyed a little insight into our thought process during all of this. I know we didn't end up seeing the storm, so this is not going to be like, this wasn't the most exciting video of all time, but we just wanted to share kind of how we made decisions during all of this last week. We hope you've enjoyed. We'll see you next time.